Some may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
The Bears.
Because of the way they play the nickel corner here, and the nickel corner plays 88-85% of the snaps. He's got to be like part linebacker.
The Bears.
When you're in a scouting room, there's going to be differences of opinion.
The Bears.
Once coaches get involved, of course, they've got their own opinions about what fits best for what they want to do, and that could be drastically different than what the scouts say.
Well, you're looking at traits, and remember when he tested very, very well.
The Bears.
One thing good about Kevin, he's been with two other organizations, as well as being the commissioner of the Big Ten. He's been around.
The Bears.
With Greg Olson, Jerry didn't want to get rid of him. I didn't want to get rid of him. Nobody wanted to get rid of him. One guy wanted to get rid of him, Mike Martz, because Mike Martz didn't know what the hell to do with him. We tried to talk Lovey out of hiring Mike Martz for a month and a half. He's playing zone, but number one, he doesn't get enough depth with the drop. But who the hell's going? How many times does a 305, 310-pound defensive tackle drop into coverage, especially in a key situation?
The Bears.
Greg, why are teams wrong on quarterback evaluation so often?
Number one, it's a hard position to evaluate. There's probably not as many real good quarterback evaluators as there needs to be.
The Bears. The Bears. The Bears.
Welcome, everyone, to a fresh episode of GTF Gabriel Talks Football. My name is Aldo Gandia. Quick programming note. Farm 55 is back tomorrow on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central. They've been away for a couple of weeks, so it's going to be interesting to get their look. They being Danny Shimon, Alyssa Barbieri, and John Buffon get their thoughts on. They go away for 2 weeks and the Bears lose 2 games. How about that? But they'll be back tomorrow night, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. and then Bear Their Souls moves back to its regular slot Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Let me bring in the man of the hour. His name is Greg Gabriel. Greg, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. New season.
Yeah, a lot of firings going on in the NFL today, known as Black Monday.
Yeah. What do we got? Pete Carroll, Stefanski, Gannon. I think that's it. Oh, last night the Atlanta coach got us, so that's 4. And then you already had and you already had the Giants and the Titans, so that's 6 jobs open. And as we said off the air, I think Miami's going to open up when they hire a GM, because what GM's going to want McDaniel as his head coach? I mean, he hadn't done anything.
So if they want to talk to Ian Cunningham, do you think Ian should say, no, thank you?
I'll tell you what, to me, that's a hard job. The good news is the guy keeps you around for a long time. The GMs that have been there, I mean, so you get time to get your job done. The bad news is they've always made horrible hires. I'm not going to say Ian's a horrible hire. That'd be a good hire. But the hires that they've made in the past have been really questionable. But here's the thing with them. They hired Troy Aikman as a consultant to help hire the GM. Please explain to me what Troy Aikman's going to do. What is his experience with any front office in the NFL ever? He played, God, when did you stop playing? 20 years ago or something? The only GM he had any association with as a player is Jerry Jones, who just happens to be an owner. And, you know, and don't say, well, he sat in production meetings. So what? That's not running a football team. I don't get that one. I mean, when I saw that, I go, that is typical of the Miami Dolphins, and that's why they're one of the horrible franchises in the NFL right now.
Is Dan Marino still associated with that team? Because he was in the front office for a while. Is he still associated with them?
I don't think he ever really was, like, to a high degree. It was more, like Jim Kelly is with the Buffalo Bills. You're associated, you shake hands, that type of thing, but you don't have anything to do with any decision making.
Just go out drinking. You just go out drinking with the owner, and all of a sudden you get a job.
That stadium is now over and done, closed. The stadium in Buffalo, that was the last game, and the only way they could play a game there is if all the wild card teams, or all the rather the seeded teams lose and the wild card teams win, then maybe they could get a playoff game. But they're on the road to Jacksonville next week, so I think all the games at that old stadium are done. Probably start hitting it with the wrecking ball pretty soon, and the new stadium will open up next August.
Are you planning on taking a trip over to Buffalo and visiting the stadium?
I don't know. I tweeted out yesterday. I was at the very first game there in August 1973, preseason game with the Redskins, and yes, they were the Redskins then. And in fact, I had season tickets that year, 1973, and my daughter was at the closing game yesterday, so I thought that was kind of cool.
Very cool. Absolutely. Well, all right, let's get to the topic at hand. Our Chicago Bears lose their second straight game, this time a very disappointing performance against the Detroit Lions, where the offense showed nothing at all for 3 quarters before coming alive, scoring 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns, but it wasn't enough to overcome the Lions. They went on a last-second field goal. Your overall thoughts on the performance of the Chicago Bears against the Detroit Lions yesterday?
Didn't totally shock me. I had a post yesterday. I said, football is a passionate, physical game, and if you're not ready to play, you're going to get your ass handed to you. And the Chicago Bears yesterday did not look ready to play for whatever reason. There was a lot on the line, as it turned out. And maybe they figured that Philly was going to lose, which they did lose, and that the players just didn't have that initiative that you need to win a football game. And you keep freezing up, by the way.
Let me go ahead, continue with your thought. I'm going to jump out and come right back in. Give me 30 seconds, but continue your thought.
No, I just think that the Bears as a whole were flat. I don't put that on the coaching staff. I put it on the players. I think that they weren't playing up to the level that we're used to seeing them play this year under Ben Johnson. And, they got to turn the switch back on next week because you got a playoff game. Thankfully, and people are going to probably hit me for this, but thankfully it's the Green Bay Packers. And I don't care what the records are. Going into the playoffs, the Green Bay Packers are the worst team in the NFC in the playoffs. Yes, they have a better record than the NFC South teams, but Green Bay, here are the facts. Green Bay has lost 4 games in a row and 6 out of their last 10. That is the worst record over that 10-week span of any team in the NFC. Any playoff team in the NFC.
Yeah. What is wrong with the offense that they cannot get going in the first half, and now it's in the first 3 quarters?
I had a post yesterday. I did not like them. I have never criticized Ben's play calling. I did yesterday. I did not like the play calling in the first quarter. There was one point where he called like 6 runs in a row. And I just that didn't make any sense to me, given the and you're still freezing up, the down and distance situations. So some of it I think you can put on him. Why it takes this team a half to warm up, I don't know. On the offensive side, and the defense is, you got to hope that Kyler Gordon is ready to play this week. Highly doubtful that C.J. Gardner-Johnson will be able to play. He had a concussion around a short week, and it's very, very seldom that a player can come out of concussion protocol on a short week and play.
Yeah, it's really bad. Yeah, I posted a similar thing regarding Kyler Gordon. I'm concerned about this defense because they really need, as you point out in the open, the importance of a slot physical corner is paramount for this defense to work. And without Kyler Gordon, I think that's been one of the biggest problems in stopping the run and ensuring that we're neutralizing the opposing team's slot receiver. Kyler Gordon's absence this year is so underappreciated by some of us fans, and we need to have him back. But it's unlikely he's going to be anywhere near Kyler Gordon if, indeed, he can come back this Saturday against the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to know that. We'll know that during the week when you see what he's doing during practice, if, in fact, he does practice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going back to what Ben has said, during in the pressers over the last few weeks when he keeps getting asked a question. He goes, "We're hopeful," and he shouldn't say any more than that. So, yeah. But I would think he's had another 4 weeks to rest this thing. He's been working out or trying to work out, and hopefully he's going to be good to go. You got to have somebody in there because we know Darnell Johnson isn't going to play unless there's a miracle. And so who plays that? Who's capable of playing that position? I don't know. And JJ is not back to being JJ. You can see that. It's obvious. So, there's problems with the secondary. The pass rush is getting pressures that are not finishing. And I wish I had an answer for it, but I don't. I guess the answer is get better people who can finish.
You were critical of Ben Johnson's play calling. I'm critical of Dennis Allen's scheme against the Lions yesterday. Even Jaquan Brisker said, we were playing a lot of man and they were running the perfect scheme against a man defense and we didn't adjust. I'm just telling it like it is. That's what Brisker said after the game. I noticed that too. Jaylon Johnson having to cover a guy going across, a speedy guy like Williams. That ain't going to happen. You can't make that up. You have to have
especially the way they had the Lions had that alignment. And so you're giving Williams basically a little bit of a head start. And JJ's not at 100%. Not like you can get your hands on him and jam him at the line of scrimmage. I can agree with that. I don't know enough about the scheme to know exactly what happened, what they were trying to show, what they were trying to do versus what they can do, being that there is a game next week. I think some of that plays into it, but I admit I'm throwing a dart at the wall. I don't know if you heard everything I said. I'm glad we're playing Green Bay. I think Green Bay is the worst team in the NFC playoffs.
Yeah. They've lost 5 in a row.
4 in a row they've lost, 6 out of the last 10. And, you take Carolina's got the worst record, but Carolina has not lost 4 in a row or 6 out of the last 10. Green Bay is clearly the worst team. And, of course, the cheeseheads will argue, and they can say whatever they want. It'll be settled on the field next Saturday night. And, Big Z had a good point when he was on the radio this morning. I was on my way to the doctor. I was listening to him. And the only time I ever listened to sports radio now is when I'm in a car. I refuse to listen to it at home. So I haven't heard it in a long time. But anyway, Big Z said that, one of the reasons the Bears got the Saturday night game is you got 2 West Coast teams on the road. And so you didn't want them traveling on a short week.
Okay. That makes sense. Didn't realize that. A lot of people are wondering in the chat, D. Levine just brings it up. Why is Tyreek Stevenson sitting and Nashawn Wright getting all these snaps? Wright has been outstanding at turning the ball over, but he just can't guard people like Tyreek Stevenson can, particularly if they're playing man-to-man.
I don't know the answer. And what was you had the, I saw him, we were waiting to start. You had the snap count up. How many snaps did he get yesterday?
Well, I'll tell you right now. Let's see.
He's been actually getting more snaps than
Thank you.
JJ.
He was. That is true. Let me get. That's the offense. Let me put the defense up there. So there's Tyree Steve. I don't even see Stevenson. Where is he?
He might not. Maybe he didn't play.
Oh my goodness, he had to play. Well, Nashon had 100%.
I do not. I did not see him in the game.
That is wild. 100% of snaps went to Wright.
JJ played 72 of the 73 snaps.
Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't realize that Tyreek didn't play. I thought he was on the field for a handful of plays, but obviously I'm wrong. That is very sad.
So could something have happened? He wasn't on the injury report. Could there have been a discipline thing during the week? Well, who knows?
Mm-hmm. That has to be the issue.
I don't think it got answered or even got asked. I didn't listen to the presser. I don't listen after losses. Plus, it was getting later. Yeah, I didn't think it was brought up during the presser. It could be brought up today. It usually goes around 3 o'clock on Mondays. Right. So we'll find out then. It'll be interesting to see how the practice week, they got to have a day off. If they have today's a day off, and then they practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, have off Friday, but it'll be a unique situation being it is a short week, but it's a short week for Green Bay. Green Bay has, 3 hours more rest time than the Bears had.
Yeah.
And Green Bay didn't, they were, the guys that did play in that game against Minnesota were pathetic.
Yeah. Do you think it was a good decision, given that we all knew that Matt LaFleur was resting his starters in preparation for their playoff run? Do you think it was a good decision or a bad decision that Ben Johnson started all his starters? Or played all his starters all year?
You want to play Green Bay. And I know everybody, Green Bay owns us. I don't give a shit. They're the worst team. Okay, that's the team you want. And you don't want to have to play a team, you didn't want to have to play LA or San Francisco. Mm-hmm. Granted that they got to come across the country, but still the most favorable matchup for the Bears this week is Green Bay. Mm-hmm. So, you wanted to win that game. Thankfully, Washington beat Philadelphia. And, Philadelphia looks like crap too, but they rested a lot of their guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been telling people, hey, let's not be too critical of this defense. They only allowed 19 points. And then Craig Mandel says the defense allowed 19 points because they were allowing long drives and reducing the number of possessions and preventing our offense from getting on the field and getting the rhythm. That's a great point.
True. That part is very, very true. They weren't finishing the drives. That part's a positive for the defense, and they were coming away with 3 points. But at the same time, they were using up the clock, and the offense wasn't on the ball. But the offense didn't make use of their situations. Mm-hmm. They got, it works both ways. If the offense has the ball for a while, that takes away from the time that the other team can have the ball. Mm-hmm. They got to do their part. And Ben was obviously pissed off. I think part of that, my own take, was for show. You follow what I'm saying on that?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
To tell the players I'm not happy with you. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And did it and showed it to the media, but he was clearly pissed. Mm-hmm. It's too bad there's not a video from what happened in the locker room.
Yeah, they were doing good, better, best. They were going worse and worse.
Yeah. So that would have been an interesting scene to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But again, I'm not going to go into depression or anything like this. I think they're going to win this week. We're in the playoffs. The goal for this year was number one, have a winning season. Accomplished. Second goal, get in the playoffs. Accomplished.
Yep.
Now, next goal is win a playoff game.
Yeah.
And if you win a playoff game, the week after they're home again.
Greg, am I still
they can't go on the road. It's impossible for them to go on the road if they win.
Am I still freezing at all?
Yes.
Okay. I'll change the computers here in a second. Let's go to Ben Johnson's opening comment yesterday in the presser. This is about a minute long, Greg.
Okay.
You know, disappointing to lose that one in that fashion there. Guys were battling. They fought their tails off, but came up short, you know. So, you know, we got to play better. We got to play better going forward. We got to coach better going forward as well. And, you know, we're turning the page, though. You know, we got the number 2 seed. We got a home game next week, and we got a new season on the horizon. And so our guys should be reinvigorated by that. I know I certainly am. I'm looking forward to the opportunity and all that entails, and the opportunity to go 1-0 this next week. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and open it up.
And what about today's performance grabs your attention most?
Yeah, we can't dig ourselves in a hole like that, you know, and was disappointed with the offense as a whole. I let those guys know that, and we'll be better for it. You know, we'll address it. We'll get those things cleaned up, and we'll be better for it.
All right.
That's better, brother.
Yeah. Oh, good. All right. We have to go to the backup computer here.
Yeah, well, the backup one might have to become number 1.
I got to fix whatever's going on with this other contraption. But I'm glad this is better. I apologize for the problems. All right, so he clearly had an edge to his voice. He clearly is already thinking about trying to inject some toughness into this team, because this is not the same team we saw when they won 9 out of 10.
Yeah, that's a fair statement. Here, the only thing I'm concerned about for the playoffs is that there are not a lot of guys on this team with playoff experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Tooney has it. Jackson has it. None of the receivers have it. You know, so you've had college. Loveland's played in the national championship game, but he hasn't been in an NFL playoff game. Komet's never had it. DJ's never been as good as DJ is. He's never been in a playoff game in his whole career. He never had a winning season in his whole career until this year. So from that standpoint, this team, you know, the guys that have been Edmonds, Tooney, Jackson, some of those guys, they got to really jump up this week and be better leaders than they normally are, because it's a different type of football once you get into the playoffs. It's a more physical game. It's a more intense game.
Yeah.
And you can't make a mistake. Every time you make a mistake, you're leaving the door open for somebody else. Excuse me.
Greg, if I recall correctly, when you were with the Bears, there was a season or two where the Bears kind of, and I'm saying this metaphorically, limped into the playoffs where they weren't playing their best ball. Do you recall? Am I recalling that correctly?
Well, my first year here was 2001. We got into the playoffs, and we lost right away. We lost to Philly. The next year we were in the playoffs, I believe, was 2005. And we were actually pretty good. We were playing Carolina at home, and I thought we had a pretty good shot. We didn't lose that game, or we did lose that game. But the next year, we had home field advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to the Super Bowl.
And that season when you went to the Super Bowl, the way I recall is that the last couple of regular season games, you guys weren't
we lost to Green Bay the last regular season game.
Yes.
It was on New Year's Eve.
Yes.
The game meant nothing. I remember the game very, very well. We lost the game, and it was New Year's Eve, so I went to Smith and Walensky's for dinner with my wife after, and Chef Hans was running the place then, and we were drinking pops with Chef Hans and his wife, and it was a great time, but nobody cared because we were the top seed and we were going to host all the games. But yeah, I mean, that I don't remember what happened in the second last game, but I know we lost to Green Bay in the last game, and I don't think anybody gave a damn.
Well, so the reason I bring this up is, what did Lovey do to help the team get over that final regular season loss to the Green Bay Packers and prepare them for the playoff push?
That's a good question that I can't answer because we're having you're getting into all-star game season.
Yeah.
And so then we were, we played Seattle the first week, but I was somewhere, one of the all-star games. The following week, the East-West game was being in Houston that year. And so the following week, I was in Houston during the week, came back for the game when we played New Orleans. And I remember, being in Houston, here in New Orleans, scouts be flapping their jaws like the Chiefs had flapped their jaws now, thinking that they were going to kick our ass. And it was the other way around.
Indeed. Best Meat Marinade says, I've been criticizing Dennis Allen all year. Finally, a player sees the same thing we see. Wild Greg, so I guess he's going to say something negative about you, but he didn't finish the thought. Anyway, I have hope that this defense is going to turn things around against the Green Bay Packers. I'm not saying they're going to shut them out or anything, but I'm saying that they are going to come up with a solution for these crossing patterns, which are just killing the Bears, and their inefficiency at stopping completions on the middle of the field and deep into the field. It's a tall order, of course, and I'm not saying they're going to perfect things, but I think they're going to come up with some plan and a performance that's going to get us past the Packers.
I have full confidence that they're going to do something. Remember, go back to Thanksgiving week. We had the short week Black Friday game against Philly, and there probably was 5 people in Chicago that thought the Bears were going to win that game. Mm-hmm. In Philly, and they kicked the shit out of Philly.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that happening.
Yep, that's what I see. Let's talk a little bit. Well, one more thought about the defense. I think that, Dennis Allen is getting a lot of criticism, and some of it is warranted. I'm not blind to what's going on, but I also think it's mostly on the players and not winning their one-on-one battles, not consistently pressuring the quarterback. I'm not calling for sacks, but disrupt the rhythm. That Goff is going to go into the game and get rid of the ball in 2 seconds. You got to figure out ways to disrupt that rhythm, get your hands up, block some passes. And I also think that our defensive backfield, there's injuries there. There's lack of rhythm going on there. The only person really playing well in the defensive backfield is Kevin Byard. The rest of the guys are just kind of limping along, so to speak.
Yeah, Byard had the interception, and then the offense could have put him away right then.
Mm-hmm.
Went down the field, got 3, game over, use up clock, but they didn't. And the first, if I recall correctly, the first play on that was a slant to the left side to Luther, and Luther dropped it.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get to the offense, because one of you mentioned the criticism that you had for Ben Johnson's play calling yesterday. In that first quarter, it was like run play, and it was like I think I put out. I go, well, I guess they know that he's not going to get his 4,000, and I could care less about the 4,000. That meant nothing, but you got to throw the ball to get it. And they didn't even want to throw it. Yeah, I questioned the play calling too. The lack of a rhythm, I think, sometimes falls on the coach's play calling. But one of the things I sort of had a little bit of a different opposite view really over the last 2 games against the 49ers and yesterday against the Lions. I thought that he could have perhaps done better at calling run plays. These are the stats. The Bears had 18 carries yesterday, and that includes a Caleb Williams run. It really wasn't a designed run. So 7 designed runs between Monangai and Burden. Burden just got one. And DeAndre Swift carried the ball just 10 times. Compare that to Jamar Gibbs running the ball 19 times and David Montgomery 8 times. And so they doubled the amount of carries and doubled the amount of yards and doubled the amount of time of possession. I think it's because you couldn't get this run game going. And I'll also be critical of Kyle Monangai. I thought he missed a couple of wide open holes and decided to lower his shoulders and take on tacklers. And he's done that in past games too. He needs to keep his eyes up and look for that open hole, because I don't think he's playing his best ball like he did in the middle of the season against Cincinnati Bengals. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I have to look at the all 22 and see the end zone copy, see if I agree or disagree. There have been times when he's like, might go left when Wright is there. And that's a feel for any running back. And I'm not making excuses for him. It's just, what we see from up high versus from what they see in a crowd is 2 different things.
Absolutely.
Often 2 different things. So he ran for just under 800 yards on the year being a backup. That's pretty good numbers. So I'm not ready to put the hammer to him. Just the run game wasn't working for whatever reason. I think, they, with the number of run plays they called early, he was obviously wanted to get it to work. But when you go 2-3 series in a row where you got 2nd and 8 and 3rd and 7 or something like that, you got to do something. You got to, if you get 2 yards on first down in a run play, why are you running on a second play when the idea or the object is to try to get 3rd and short? So you want to have 3rd and 3, not 3rd and 6, not 3rd and 7. So it just didn't make sense to me. And again, that's the very first time I've been really critical of how he called the game. He's one of the best in the business. The important thing is, and he's got, I'll tell you what, he's in his mind, he's probably got to do this himself, is he did not call a good game in the playoffs last year for Detroit against Washington, which actually got him here earlier. Yeah. And so
scored 30 points though, Greg.
Yeah, but just there was criticism of how he called the game.
I remember that.
At least there was from the Detroit people.
Yeah,
but
sure.
But then the Detroit people, they had their first good team in 100 years, and so they're a little bit crazy to begin with. But that's all right.
Yeah, never been to a Super Bowl yet. They think their balls don't stink.
I know.
All right, I got a chance to read. You listened to Brad Biggs, and I got a chance to read at least a third of.
I didn't read any of the 10 points. That's a book. Gotta love books. He's got to take into, especially with a game that ends at 6:30 or something like that. That's got to take him to 3 a.m. to write that thing.
Yeah, gosh, I'd love to ask him how long he is up, and then he's he's up early to do that hit on the Score Sports Radio. Yeah. So here's a portion that I stole from his column. He's been critical of the last 4 of 5 games, their offense, particularly the first half performance.
Yeah, he said that on the radio about the time of possession in the first half, and he goes, "It's terrible."
They trailed against Green Bay week 14, 14-3, 6-0 week 16, 28-21 week 17, and then yesterday they trailed 13-0 at halftime. On third down, they're 3 for 19 in these first half performances. They've got to figure out a way to move the chains on third down. And Caleb Williams said the same thing. Third down is the most important down, and right now this offense is letting us down, and it's a big.
Well, yeah, there's one thing where I'm not gonna really disagree, but there's a point. Go back to the second Green Bay game, so the one a few weeks ago.
Sure.
First drive, and they ran the ball right down Green Bay's throat, and then it stalled for whatever reason. Might have even turned the ball over at the end. It was a long drive too, and got nothing out of it. You got to when you get in position to score, you got to score.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep, I totally agree. Totally agree. Now, besides these issues that they're having, I do think that there is something physically wrong with DJ Moore. There was an isolated look when he pulled up. He just kind of put some weight on his left leg and he limped. He stayed in the game, though.
No, he went off. The one thing he did, he went off.
Yeah,
but
but
he came back in.
Came back, right. And then later in the game, Caleb thought he had him on that long, deep pass, and it looked like DJ just gave up on the ball. I think, now maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's just being lackadaisical, but I think there's something physically wrong with DJ Moore and that his body is, at this point in his career, is starting to wear down a little bit.
I'm not going to say this point in his career. I'd phrase that this point of this season.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, he's taken some pretty big hits this year.
Yes, he has.
And so, hey, physical game. Is he like he was in the beginning of the year? No. But you know what? It's the sport he chose to play.
Mm-hmm.
Suck it up, baby. You got a playoff game this week. And it's the first time he's ever played in the playoffs.
Yeah. Bruce Ollie Walter Jordan says DJ has beat the hell up. He carried the team for a bit the last few weeks. Yeah, I mean, it almost felt to me, Greg, I think the reason I'm bringing this up is maybe there should have been some starters to rest, and DJ Moore probably would have been at the top of that list.
Yeah, but in fairness, you already got Rome out. Who are you going to play in his place?
What's his name? Walker got a lot of snaps yesterday. Zacchaeus, let's take a look at those snaps again. I think this is the offense. No, that's the defense. So let's see. Zacchaeus only played 11% of the snaps, and Walker played 30.
He played 6 snaps. That's it.
Yeah, well, he could have taken over some of DJ snaps now, who had 85% of the snaps. I hate to be critical, particularly because this season has been a blessing for me as a fan. This season has been a blessing, and I really hate to be critical, but I'd love for them to win some games in the playoffs at least, especially Saturday.
Of course, and especially being that they're playing Green Bay this week.
Exactly. This means
I'm not worried about this week. Week after, I'm worried about. I'm not worried about this week.
Okay, well, God bless you. Some of that confidence.
I got it. Before I got to tell you a funny story because I was at the doctor. So I had a male nurse there, and he's the guy who's doing this breathing test for me for my lungs. So he goes, Howard said you used to work for the Bears, right? And I said, yeah. And I've never seen this guy before. He must have been new at the office. He goes, are you that guy that's on Twitter? And I said, no, I didn't. So I go, you mean the asshole? And he goes, yeah, that guy.
That is wild. Hey,
But it was funny. I go, you mean the asshole? And he goes, yeah.
That's hilarious. I mean, you've trended 3 or 4 times on my Twitter feed, trending Greg Gabriel. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Greg's in
hey, I noticed on New Year's Day, I said, I'm going to be nice to Green Bay. It's almost a week. Haven't said anything.
Well, good for you, but they are saying some things. There have been a couple of Green Bay Packers in the chat who are trying to pick a fight with you, but I won't give them the time of day.
Let them. I'll talk to them.
All right,
but I won't be nice because that's not Twitter. I got to be nice on X.
Hey, Greg, you mentioned that maybe the concussion to our defensive back CJ Gardner might keep him out of this week's game. It looked to me like Cole Kmet took some really tough hits in this game. What do you think about him?
He took a big hit
on that
2-point conversion. And best I know is that he should be good to go. But, it's like, there's sometimes it's, real symptoms don't show up until the next day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. But I think it's if this was let me rephrase this. I don't know if he was totally out, but he took a big hit, Gardner Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and so I just don't see any way that, especially being that it's a short week, that he's going to be cleared out of concussion protocol to play the game this week.
Okay. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed. We need everybody healthy. Ozzie Trapillo missed yesterday's game. It was kind of expected. Theo Benedict, I thought, did an admirable job, given that he hadn't played the left tackle position in several weeks. I know you haven't watched the All-22 yet, but did you see anything in the left tackle's play, Theo's play yesterday, that gave you concern in case he has to go against?
No, Wright got beat once, bad. At the right tackle position, giving up a sack. Other than that, no, it wasn't that bad. There's some interior rushes that where our guys got beat a little bit. Again, I got to go back and look at the All-22. But I don't think it was the strongest game for the O-line that they've played this year.
Yeah.
Not even close to it.
When you get into a playoff game and you're playing really, on a Saturday night, so you're losing some time in terms of preparation, there isn't anything monumental the coaching staff can do in terms of, adding in a new scheme or anything. You're basically just fine-tuning what hasn't worked and making better what has worked, right?
Well, an advantage you have is you've played them twice in the last month.
Mm-hmm.
5 weeks. So you've already, excuse me, have some set game plans. You know what worked. You know what didn't work. You know what worked for them. So then and it's a chess match. So you got to think that, from the defensive standpoint, that they're going to try this, this, and this, and then go from there. Try to set your play calling accordingly. And the same thing with Ben is that, he knows what works. He knows what didn't work. He knows what to expect from Green Bay's defense. It's not like you haven't played them all year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, say, playing Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that Matt LaFleur after the game said, I'm confident that I made the right decision and not playing our starters? How do you feel about a team that has lost so many games in a row, not playing their starters, and basically saying we're just recalibrating the whole thing, give our guys a rest, and then come out fresh for this first playoff game?
Personally, I didn't agree with it.
Okay, tell me why.
Because of the number of losses they had in a row.
Mm-hmm.
That, okay, we had 3 in, now we got 4. So I think from that standpoint, you needed to get your guys playing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Love hasn't played since the first quarter of the Bears game, the second Bears game. Should he have played a series or 2 in that game just to get him some reps?
Mm-hmm.
That type of thing. So LaFleur's been a successful coach, so who the hell am I to question him? But at the same time, I just thought from my standpoint, that's my team, and I'm coming off 3 losses going into a game. I'm not going to play all the scrubs and let it be 4.
Yeah.
That sits on you a little bit now.
Well, yeah, and I saw a good portion of that game. That was a putrid performance by that Packers team. I mean, they were never in it. They were shut out. It was embarrassing. But I understand why they were embarrassed, but it was an embarrassing performance. No doubt about it. We'll see what happens. Hey, I've got questions from Lee Bruin, Dimitri, Danger. Bruce Ollie, Walter Jordan, Samo, and Mr. Englewood. Those were the ones I was able to capture. If you have a question, send it your way. I'll do a better job of capturing it. Let's start with Lee Bruin asking you, Greg, can the Bears turn the defense around much like they did the offense when the off season comes around? Already talking off season, even though we're in the playoffs.
What the hell's dog barking at?
I hope it's a Packer fan and he eats him up.
I think they could turn it around this week. But you know me, I don't think negative.
Yeah,
it's in when the defense gives up plays, it's generally not physical, it's mental.
Mm-hmm.
And people are making a mental mistake, not playing the gap the right way, leaving a gap open or whatever. Maybe overrunning something or underrunning something, taking a poor angle. Could be any different reason why. But 9 times out of 10, it's mental mistakes, not physical mistakes.
Yep.
You can fix that. But now when you're in the playoffs, you've got to pay attention to detail even more so than you do during the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
Because every single play is important.
Mm-hmm. People are saying, good boy, Bennett. If you're barking at a Packer fan, good boy, good boy.
Well, I don't think there's any Packer fans on my street. Maybe a few streets over there. I know there is 2 streets over. There's one. He flies his flag all the time.
Really? Oh my gosh! In your neighborhood?
Not in my neighborhood. Across the one main drag, but it's
gotcha.
Less than a mile away.
All right, let's see what Dimitri has to say. Brisker is going to get some bench love this weekend, right? Offense clue regarding his post-game comments, went into business for himself, very selfish. So he's basically criticizing Jaquan Brisker for being forthright in his disagreement with how Dennis Allen ran the defense. Do you think that's going to cost him playing time and that this could be his last season with the Bears?
Well, I'm going to answer this way. Who are you going to replace him with?
Eli Hicks.
It's, you want to punish a guy, fine him. And is that a finable offense?
Mm-hmm.
If Ben and or DA had a problem with what he said, I'm sure it'll be addressed today.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they had today off, being that it's a short week, and then it'll be addressed tomorrow. And maybe even if they had a day off, it was addressed today because you can always pick up the damn phone.
Oh, yeah, he's probably in for treatment or something, yeah.
Yeah, so, but again, that's a coaching decision. And we have heard there really been none of that all year. This is really, as compared to the Flus years. By the way, I don't know if Flus got fired yet today. Is there any news on that?
I haven't heard on the reports that there was an expectation, but I'll take a quick look at things. One more question about Brisker, because you and I talked about him several times last season while he was out, and you had told me that he really was capable of coming back, that he was injured, but he was.
I can't tell you how I know that. I just know that.
Okay. And so do you think that was punishment last season? And therefore, do you think he could be punished again for these comments? I mean, last year he was openly critical of the coaching staff on social media. It was unprofessional in my mind. I like the guy, but you don't on social media criticize your coaching staff, even if they are the Eberflus staff. But do you think that he's going to face some consequences?
I don't know the answer to that. Again,
Okay.
that's the first. I can just say how in situations like that I know of how it's been dealt with, and the first thing you do is you have a conversation with the player.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then go on from there.
Yeah.
But the last thing you want to do is punish the team for what the player said.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
follow what I'm saying?
Great point. Great point. Yes. Totally.
So you get the player where counts the most in his pocketbook.
Right. There you go. And here's the thing too is, and I hate to, pretend I'm the coach or GM, but I would say, listen, I know you want to help this team win, but when you open up your fucking mouth on social media or to the reporters about our dirty laundry, you're not helping us. You're not fucking helping us. Excuse my language.
Boy,
Anyway,
you're fired up today, bro.
I'm drinking Starbucks coffee first time.
Calm down. We don't need you to have another stroke yet.
Thank you, really. All right. Bruce Ollie Walter Jordan says, do you think they are trying to get Jaylon in shape? They've been increasing his snaps week to week.
Yeah, and I don't think he's even close.
Yeah,
he does not have the quick twitch.
Yep.
That Jaylon. No, he's coming off core surgery.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's playing is good. They don't want to over strenuate him or whatever and make it too strenuous for him. But he did play just about he played 99% of the snaps yesterday. He only missed one. But you can see he's not as quick, as fast, as twitchy as the Jaylon we saw pre-injury. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to see that Jaylon until next year. Yeah. But at the same time, just like I said with DJ, hey, toughen up, brother. It's a playoff game.
Yeah. By the way, Eberflus is still employed as the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator as of 1:23 p.m. Central Time. Oh, Lord. What a weird.
Now, one guy said, I'm not going to mention his name there, he'll be being paid by 2 teams. And I immediately corrected that on X. I said, no, he's not. He's getting paid by the Bears, period. And here's the reason being, people got to understand how contracts work.
Okay.
If you are under, and this is throughout the National Football League, there's no way you're getting paid fully by 2 teams. So he had money left on his Bears contract. Okay, probably had 2 years left. So he goes to Dallas. Dallas doesn't have to give him regular defensive coordinator pay. They already know Chicago owes him money. They can give him a contract, say a 2-year contract at $300,000 a piece or something like that. And then the Bears are on the hook for the rest. And so if he got fired, there's really not a dime. It doesn't do anything. It's still getting back. Everything is offset. So he's just still getting Bears money.
So if he's fired by the Cowboys and accepts a job with the Cardinals,
then that money is, again, the offset goes against what is owed to him by the Bears.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep. All right. Good stuff. Let's
In other words, the point I'm trying to make is you can't have a contract with Team A and a contract with Team B, and both are paying you. One offsets the other.
Yeah. It's clear. Okay. Samo wants to ask you, what does Greg make of the poor tackling and pursuit angles by the back 7 on the defense this late in the season? How can these mistakes be happening in week 18?
I mean, they can happen. Some of it could be tired, period. But I'm going to go back to what I said earlier in the show, and that is, it's a physical game. It's a mentally tough game. And if you aren't ready to play, that shit happens.
Yeah. Yep. So, I expect that Ben Johnson and his coaching team, they're going to go back to the type of attitude they had in preseason, the type of attitude they had after the Lions beat them in week 2, and really get on the ass of these players.
Yeah. Now, you can't have a more strenuous practice, because then that defeats the whole purpose, especially this time of the year. You've already played.
Practices are over, right? Padded practices are over. You can't have any more.
Well, they could if they have one left.
Yeah, I think they used that one up. Yeah.
And now what I don't know is, do you get another one when you get into the preseason or postseason, or do you get another 2 when you get into the postseason? Maybe get 1 a week, something like that. But if you notice the last few weeks, one day has always been a walkthrough. And part of that's to really ease the load, the physical load on the players.
Right. And it's
you
also
get a lot done when you say walkthrough, they're not walking. You know, they can do stuff, but they're just jogging. You know, they're going through the motions type thing, and they're running plays, and you make sure you're doing it. Excuse me. Everybody's in the right place at the right time. You're filling the right gap on defense, etc. So it's mental preparation at about 20% speed, maybe 15% speed.
Gotcha. And it's installing new plays or plays that they haven't.
Yeah, you can do all that, but you're not, you're not going 3/4 speed, half speed like a regular practice. But you can get a lot done in a quote walkthrough.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to some more of our questions. This is an interesting question from Mr. Inglewood. Have you noticed a drop-off in the play of number 58, Darnell Wright?
No, just one play yesterday.
Yeah. I think
he got beat.
Yeah. Let's remember that he had a really bad flu and was unable to fly with the team to San Francisco. And sometimes there's a little bit of a loss of energy and strength that lasts for days and days and days. So he hasn't been able to go through walkthroughs or practice or whatever. I expect Darnell Wright to be at 100% against the Packers.
Yeah, I don't think he was. I'd have to go back and look at the injuries for last week. The practice thing for last week, but I think he might have been full just about every day.
Yeah. I think you're right. Yes. All right. Triple RSCS wants to know, he's not a fan of the bend don't break philosophy. It has no creativity. We know what this team is. Dennis Allen has not adjusted to his personnel. You agree or disagree?
I disagree. He only can do. He doesn't have the players he wants to have all the way. And he's lost some players. He's been playing, without some pitcher cards in the deck. So the guy has been a very good coordinator for a long time in this league. That's how he became a head coach, not once, but twice.
Yeah.
Because if you playing short, especially on the defensive side, it comes back to bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
And, that's what's been going on. So, people don't like, I still see people bitching about Dio, but the coaching staff loved him.
Yeah.
And the run defense, when he was in there, was probably 50% better than it is now.
Absolutely right. I totally agree with you.
And the ideal plan with him was to play outside on base downs and inside on pass downs, but then Booker got hurt. And Booker missed 7 freaking games.
Tom says, in dealing with the same flu, and let me tell you, it's terrible. I know, Tom, I had it. COVID has weakened everyone's immune system, so people like me that never had bad flus are now bedridden for a week.
That's why I don't go anywhere. I don't, I can't afford to.
Yeah, with your lungs, absolutely not, man. All right. So
I was never a smoker, if anybody's thinking that.
You never smoked a cigarette?
Never.
What about marijuana?
I plead the fifth.
I love it. Okay.
And put it this way, not in the last 40 years anyway.
Okay. Not since it's been legal.
No. I mean, when I was in college and
Weight Star or something like that.
Might be last 50 years. Shit, I don't know.
Back then, the marijuana was not nearly what it is now, where they're making it so strong nowadays, Greg.
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
Well, I do. You buy legal weed now? Brace yourself.
I thought that like everything you buy at the dispensaries in Illinois got to be grown in Illinois. Is that there truth to that?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't look at where it's made. I look at the THC content, and I'm like, don't you have anything lower than this? It's like too much. I don't want to get that high. Anyway, I don't do that anymore since the stroke, so those days are gone for me as well. Wade is asking, any chance the low-key game plan was Ben not wanting to put too much offensively on tape yesterday before the playoffs? Interesting.
I think there can be some validity to that.
Mm-hmm. I'll take that a step further, Greg. I think Caleb Williams was told, don't run with the ball. He only ran once, and it was because he had to escape a rush.
And then he stepped out of bounds, and he could have picked up an easy 4 or 5 more.
Yep. I think he was warned, do not take a hit. We need you for Saturday. So, yeah, I think the game plan, they weren't playing to win, meaning they weren't throwing everything at the lines they could have. And that's bothersome. For that, because of that, they should have played more of the backups.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you can throw out a bunch of different scenarios on that. Fact is, the whole idea yesterday was to get the number 2 seed. They got the number 2 seed. After that, nothing else matters.
Mm-hmm.
It's now get ready for Saturday when you got to play Green Bay again. What happened yesterday doesn't mean shit. What they wanted to happen happened. They got the number 2 seed. Didn't matter if they backed in. It matters that they got it.
Yeah. I'm with you. All right, I got a couple more good ones.
One other thing, because your buddy Mike North is probably still having, what's the word I want? Orgasm after orgasm over this. Mitchell Trubisky, 25 out of 29, 259 yards and 4 touchdowns playing for Josh Allen yesterday.
Yeah, I saw something that Mike wrote this morning, and it just made me nauseous. It's like, dude,
but
stop.
I'll tell you what.
It
was the best game he's ever played in his life.
Yes, but he's still going to go back and make commercials about being the second stringer.
Well, of course he is. That's what he is. You know what? He's got his contract's up there, but I'm sure that they'll probably bring him back. He's good for another 5 years, probably another $20 million. He's made. I looked at it yesterday. He's made like 53. In just salary money, so not playoffs, and he's been in the playoffs a bunch. He's made like $53 million.
Yeah. Wow. Jeez.
God love him.
Absolutely. He's a nice guy. So,
Yeah. So, he's never going to have to, he'll work, like I say, he'll work another 5 years or so, pick up a bunch more money, and never have to work another day when he's done playing football.
By the way, I've been chastised a number of times on social media for not booking Mike North on this show for the two of you guys to discuss that topic and other things. But I promise to do so. Let's do it immediately after.
We'll do it in the off season. Yeah, I mean, because then we're gonna. The good thing about the being in the playoffs is now. Ordinarily, we would have been bitching about the season and what went wrong. And last year it was, okay, who's going to be the coach? Now, luckily, you only had to wait 1 week to find out that Ben was going to be the coach. But, there's other things to talk about and get ready. But, we can push that aside for a little bit longer. And then we figure out, okay, what do you think is going to happen? And we don't, and in fairness, we don't have a freaking clue. They don't have a lot of money.
Right.
You had all the stuff that, Diane Rossini said that the Raiders are, finally come to the conclusion that they might have to trade their defensive end, Max Crosby. There's only one wrong thing with that. She hasn't been right in a year. At least a year. She is never right. And you know what? She's a nice lady.
She's super awesome.
She was the sideline when I was working in the XFL. She was a sideline reporter for, ESPN was doing the games. talked to her 3 or 4 times. She's really a nice lady. But she, got this job with the Athletic, and she's supposed to be an insider, and she never gets accurate information.
Yeah.
Never. It's almost laughable. It's so off.
Yeah. Well, Diana Rossini, if you want to come on the show, we'd love to have you, but we probably killed that chance. All right. Tom is asking, where has all the gang tackling gone?
I'm not going to say there wasn't. There was plays when there was gang tackling there yesterday. I'm not going to say there was no effort. There's there. Go ahead.
I just have this to say, Greg. They had their bye in week 5. So how many games in a row have they played with games on Saturdays, games on Fridays? This team is tired. This team is freaking tired. And we as fans,
they played 12 weeks in a row.
Yeah. So we as fans have to
13 weeks in a row.
We have to account for that when we're complaining constantly about their performance. Account for the fact that guys are hurt, that guys are tired, that guys really want to win. You don't think they go out there just to collect a paycheck? That's not what this team is about. Absolutely not. Let's have a little bit of grace and admit that.
You know what? It's this. Everybody's reverting back to the past, and I get it. I understand it. But the fact is, there's a freaking playoff game Saturday. 5 days from now, there's a playoff game. The last time they were in a playoff was 2018. So, if you want to bitch, wait to see what happens Saturday, and on Sunday you can bitch. Maybe they're going to win, and then the following week they're playing home again.
Yeah, exactly. The mom makes a great point here and I've said this for years, when you're going for turnovers to punch the ball out and so forth, it's going to hurt your tackling. And that's, there's some fact to that. A lot of times is your second or third guy in should be the guy trying to strip, not the first guy. Right. Do you recall why Trapillo was out yesterday? It wasn't because he was sick. It was
he had a knee or something.
Yeah, it's something with his legs, but I do suspect he will be available.
One day he did go out on the field before the pregame, with the trainers to see the movement. They checked his movement. They probably felt, no, we're going to hold you out this week. So, yeah, they rested some guys. They rested him.
Indeed. Okay, I got one more question here, and I'm asking for any more before we pull the plug. Samuel is asking, Greg, how concerned should we be with that none of our big contract players on defense like JJ, Sweat, Edmonds, Jarrett, Gordon, and Dale are not making a consistent impact on games?
Dale hasn't played since week 5?
Right. He did parenthetically mention that, yes.
Sweat had a sack yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it was a joint sack with him and Grady Jarrett.
And so Sweat had a 10 season.
Yeah, and Sweat finished the season with double-digit sacks. And he's had, I think, 3 called back because of penalty. Mm-hmm. Booker comes so damn close all the time. He just got to finish better.
Mm-hmm.
The one sack that Gervon Dexter had was really good. In fact, it's like when I didn't realize it was him. He was coming so much quicker than he normally does, and it was a stunt where Booker came to the inside and Gervon Dexter looped to the outside and came in, and it was like, whoa, where did this guy get that kind of burst? So, I mean, I look for the good things. I'm not in panic mode that some people are, and I get, they're still living in the past. I don't live in the past. This is a pretty good team. It's a pretty good coaching staff. They've proved to be a pretty good team this year. They didn't get their ass kicked yesterday. They lost by a field goal in the last freaking play of the game.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you, Greg. I don't want to get into my soapbox again, but I just get frustrated with fans who quickly get frustrated. We're 3 quarters into the game.
That's their problem. I mean, I'm I can't worry about that. I kept going back and forth watching the Philly game.
Mm-hmm.
And after seeing what that game was doing after about a quarter and a half, I thought, well, Philly ain't going to win this game. And from that point on, I didn't really care what happened to the Bears because I knew they were going to have the number 2 seed.
Yeah, I cared only because they wanted, at least from the voice of Ben Johnson, they wanted to go into the playoffs on a win. And that I agree with Ben. It's important. You don't want to go into the playoffs losing 2 straight games.
Well, then, okay. Green Bay's lost 4.
Yeah,
but we play this week. Yeah, but what?
But you still got to look at your own performance. It starts.
Well, I get it, but it's there's a lot of teams in the playoffs that lost this week.
Mm-hmm. You see me bouncing back. Thank you, Best Meat Marinade. Yeah, I'm getting better, man. My grip is getting better. I was actually able to use my left hand to do all sorts of things. So we'll leave it at that. J2K has an interesting point here, and I really value this point, J2K. Greg, our cornerbacks are struggling to play man.
They are.
The D-line is struggling to run stunts, both staples of Dennis Allen's defense. Should Dennis Allen get more credit for holding this team together with duct tape?
You could say yeah, and you could say no, because you know what? You're supposed to do your damn job.
Mm-hmm.
And the real question I want to know, and go back is Stevenson was a pretty good press man guy. Why did he not play it down?
That's weird.
Okay, so was it disciplinary? Was he hurt?
Mm-hmm.
What was the issue? Was this game, even though the coach said, he had the growl, disappointment, was that all bullshit?
Mm-hmm.
And they really didn't care. Because I go back and I go, they're not playing like they care. And I thought that, like from the first possession,
mm-hmm.
Looked like third preseason game. We're getting ready for the regular season.
I saw you posting that. Were you frustrated? It sounded
no. I just said this is what it looks like,
mm-hmm.
and it was just a comment. And to me, it was almost like, yeah, we got the guys in there. They're getting their reps in. They're getting practice in. But we're not going to bust our balls to get everything done. Now, was I right? I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
But, the coach has got to put on the strict face. It'll be interesting to see what he says in another hour and 15 minutes.
Yep, I can't wait to hear that one. I'll have highlights on the social media, Twitter.
I wish they'd run that live. They don't always run it live.
Yeah, they don't. I don't know what's going on over there.
I got to wait, like a half hour after it's over. You got to go on their website and it's there.
Yeah, if they run it live, I'll send you a link, because sometimes they run it live on YouTube, but not on Twitter or X. And sometimes they run it live on X, but not on YouTube. So I don't know.
Well, they don't have those are never on X. Except the one right after the game, but
mm-hmm.
the ones during the week are never on X. And I never go to the YouTube feed. I go to their website, and those are never on the website when they happen.
Yeah, wild. We need to get somebody from the Bears media team on here. Not that we're being critical, but we just want some answers to some of our questions. For the most part, they do a wonderful job.
No, you get access to it. You get watch, but it's not necessarily. See, the media gets a message from the media affairs department, and they say, hey, okay, Ben's going to talk to you guys at 3:00.
Right.
And there's no media there. It's all virtual. So, but why, again, it's never on X Live. It's never on their website live.
Mm-hmm.
It's always delayed. Now, it could be on YouTube. I don't know. I never checked the YouTube.
Yeah, it has been from time to time. Got a question for you about Luke Newman from Best Meat Marinade. Why isn't he playing?
Well, I mean, I love Luke Newman, but why would you play him?
Yeah, he's not going to play better than Jonah Jackson, Drew Dahlman, or the left guard.
Well, they're not going to play him at center, but he'd be playing for Jackson or for Tooney, and why are you going to do that? Right. And he played really when Jackson got hurt in that one game. I think it was the first series. He came in, played the rest of that first half, and they didn't miss a beat.
Mm-hmm. Got a question here that I'm anxious to hear your reply. Did you see Ruben Bain play against Ohio State? And if so, your thoughts?
Yeah, Bain played real good like early in the Notre Dame game. Then I thought he kind of leveled off. Mm-hmm. Now, he's a name that a lot of people like, and part of it is because he was so good in the Notre Dame game. You know, and that was a nationally televised game. But then the last game of the season and the playoffs so far, he's really played good. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't like him as good as like Dane and DJ got him as a top 10 guy. I don't see him that good. And part of it is, and maybe it's just, I don't like the way his body looks.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he's very muscular.
Oh, my goodness.
He looks like a 3 technique.
Absolutely. I was waiting for you to say that. That guy's going to be an outstanding 3 tech in the league.
He looks like but he's only like 280 pounds.
Well, give him a couple coupons to McDonald's. He'll be fine.
But that's what he looks like, his body. He doesn't look like an edge. And so not taking anything away from him, it's is what he doing what he does in college, is that going to carry over to the NFL game? Now, there are people, and I don't know, I have looked and I don't have it. And I got the arm lengths from last spring on most players. I don't think I had his. Mm-hmm. People are saying he's got real short arms. He looks like he's got shorter arms.
Yes, he does.
But we won't know until the combine what his real arm length is. Because I'm going to tell you what, spring arm lengths, throw them out. They don't mean shit. You got a real young scout or a combine scout doing that. We've seen the discrepancies in arm lengths. It's the measurement that is the least precise of any measurement we do.
What did Tommy Harris weigh when you drafted him?
287, 288.
Bain is 270 according to Wikipedia, which of course is not accurate, but
yeah, that's a program weight.
Yeah.
No, I mean, hey, the guy's a good football player, and so is Messidor. Mm-hmm. It is, but is he? And the one guy I like too, his name is Howell, the edge for Texas A&M, who can really come off the edge.
Cassius Howell.
Yeah, his arm length in the spring was like 31 and a half.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so I'm like, oh, shit. But hey, the only thing to remember, because I got a file with all the spring grades. I shouldn't say that out loud because I'm not supposed to have that. Anyway.
I'll take it out.
I got to look. Just remind me to do that. We'll bring it up next week. Okay. You know, and see if I got, or remind me, and I can look. I can go through the thing because it'd take me, you know, literally just pages and pages and pages of players, and I'm not going to do that right now. You know, and skim through the thing. So, but if I got it, if he in fact had verified height and weight from last spring, I got it. If he didn't, then I won't have it.
Okay. All right. I got a couple more questions here that I've starred. Let's see what we got. D. Levine is asking how much of the defensive issues are due to poor coaching.
I think their coaching is very, very good.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, you know, players, I'll go back to what I said, a lot of times bad defensive play is mental mistakes by players.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
And I'll go back, to when Lovey was here, Bob Babich was the linebacker coach. Marinelli was, coaching the defensive line, and they, their individual periods before and pre-practice, they'd be going walk through on the different fits, and the different defensive play calls. And that front seven had to be precise with their fits. And it was a gap, what we call a gap control scheme. And when one guy makes a mistake, they might as well all make a mistake. So you got to play disciplined football.
Yeah. By the way, I mispronounced Levine's name. It's not Levine, it's Levine. I apologize for that mistake. We got a couple more questions that have just come in. Let's start with, do you think that Joe Burrow went down too easy for that Myles Garrett record? It's kind of suspicious.
I didn't even see it, so I couldn't tell you. They're gonna say it like Brett Favre went down too easy for Michael Strahan. Well, yeah, then Michael Strahan would have sent him into the cheap seats if he didn't. So.
It looks similar, I'm telling you, man. And Best Meat Marinade asked earlier, what should the Bears' defensive scheme be in order to run crossing routes? Now, usually it's zone defense that beats those crossing routes, right?
Well, they're playing man, and if you don't have good man guys, quick guys, especially if they're doing those quick slants, then it's going to be over. So maybe they got to play some more zone. Absolutely. I'm going to say right now, I am not an X and O guy.
Yeah,
I'm an evaluator.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's evaluate this, Greg. The schedule for the let me get that thing out of the way there. The schedule for the playoffs Saturday, it's the Rams at Panthers. It's a 3:30 start here in Chicago on Fox TV. What do you think about that game? You like the Rams on the road against the Panthers?
Well, what Bigsy said, that doesn't make sense. The Rams played yesterday. Now they got to go on the road on a short week coming from the West Coast, and that's literally all the way across the country to Charlotte. The Rams are a better team.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't have proved that the way they were playing yesterday. And I don't know what the Cardinals I don't know what the final score was. I just know early on in the game, the Rams looked terrible. The Rams should win that game. They got the experience to win that game. But on a short week, going to Carolina, that could make a difference. And there is a game Monday too, isn't there?
Yes, I cropped it out only because it didn't make the graphic look good. But it's the Steelers versus the Texans.
Yeah. Now, see, I got to say that because I had forgotten there was a Monday playoff game. Now, I think that is atrocious.
I totally agree.
And the reason being is that it is a huge competitive disadvantage for the team that wins.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They are automatically playing a real short week the next week.
That's stupid. I don't understand. Well, I understand it's because of money.
Yeah, why? I don't know if the NFLPA has anything to do with that, or the coaches have anything to do with that. The league makes those decisions, but I'd be screaming. I mean, the Rams should be playing on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
But you got the Chargers who are going to the Patriots. They're going across the country. San Francisco's going to Eagles. They're going across the country. Okay, the fair thing to do was put the Rams on Sunday and put the Bills at the Jaguars game on Saturday. But then you've got, too many of one team. No, you could have done it because but
absolutely, you could have had 3 on Saturday and 3 on Sunday. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just. Hey, I got no say in it. I just don't like the way it's done. I think you got to be as fair from a competitive standpoint as possible. But
That's
Mondays, the game's Pittsburgh won the division, so the game is in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
But theoretically, Pittsburgh could play Saturday. the following week if they won. Now, they'll probably play Sunday, but they're still playing on a short week.
Right. Do you think that it's fair for the Bears, given that they are the number 2 seed, are playing on Saturday as opposed to Sunday?
Well, I get why when you look at the other games, the travel of the other teams. I thought because they were the number 2 seed, they might be playing Sunday.
Yeah.
It's the next week. Are they going to be playing? If they play Saturday, they get a regular week. If they play Sunday, they get an extra long week if they win. So, it could even out. I just think they are going to win. I feel very confident they're going to win this week. Weather is not supposed to be an issue, at least the last time I looked. I'm going to look right now.
I'm going to also check Twitter to see if there's any breaking news on stuff. It appears that there is not.
I did get a text from Ballard when we were in here.
Oh, what did he say? Can you share?
Yeah, I will in a minute. I just want to, I got Chicago daily. Okay, Saturday, 38 high, 25 low. And there is 60% chance of snow showers during the day. At night, no snow, considerable cloudiness, wind 10 to 20. That's a low of 25. It'll probably be around 30 degrees at kickoff. Now, I said to Chris, I said, glad you're able to hold on. He said, 8-2, I thought we had a top 3 team in the league. Jones gets hurt, and he goes, we went down the drain.
Yeah. Now, Jones is not under contract for next
season. No, but they're gonna get that. He feels confident they're gonna get that done.
Yeah,
he was the only guy that would and the only team that would really jump on the table to get the guy. So it's like Jones owes him a little something too.
Exactly. If Jones is smart, don't do what all these guys are doing with the transfer portal. Stay in Indianapolis, even if you're taking a couple of million.
There's a good thing to bring up. No, it's not pro football. What a cluster that is.
Oh my goodness.
I got a story. I'm not going to tell you the
source,
the schools. No,
okay.
I got a great source. One of the agents. So a player who was in pretty good demand. So he has a schedule. He went to one visit on Saturday, and then he was supposed to be at another school today. Okay, so now the agent's not there on these visits. The kids go, right? So the kid goes in to the head coach's office, and the head coach tells them, this is what we will give you. You walk out of this office, it's off the table.
Wow.
And so what's the kid supposed to do? He has no idea what the other school is going to give him. Okay, he hasn't even made a visit to the other school. And I'll tell you off the air who it was. Okay. But and the agent was pissed because the agent, because first of all, reality is you're talking to a 20-year-old kid. So the 20-year-old kid and it's a good sum of money, real good sum of money. So you're talking to a 20-year-old kid. He's like, oh my God, I'm going to lose this. So he's got to say yes. When he knows damn well you know, and I know that if he walks out, that offer's still good.
Yeah.
It's good next week.
Yep.
Because they want the player. But the kid doesn't know that.
Yep. Kids should just walk out based on principle. How dare you make an offer like that?
Telling me I'll tell you who it was when we get off. So
great, thank you.
It really, and I got a text about it this morning, and and the agent was really pissed.
Oh, I bet. I mean, that's worse Yeah, I think that's worse than what Jerry Jones does. Bypasses the agent and then tries to get an agreement with a player.
Well, no, what you're doing is you're strong arming a 20-year-old kid.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think it's
who
worse.
really isn't capable of making that type of decision.
Absolutely.
Now, if the kid says, "Yeah, this is the place I want to be," that's a different story. But this was strictly money, and I know for a fact wanted to visit the other school, and the other school was actually favored to get him.
Interesting. That's probably why that school made the offer that way, because they thought we're going to lose him, so let's strong arm him. All right. Samuel has a question that I think before the show you actually had the same opinion. What has Stefanski done to be thought of as the best coach available?
Yeah, thank you very much. That's nice. I saw that. Well, he's going to be a front runner for the Giants and for the Raiders. Why? He's terrible.
Well, he is thought of as like an offensive guru, and a lot of people who are in defense of him say he's never had a quarterback.
His teams suck. How long has he been the head coach at Cleveland?
Mm-hmm.
Have they had a winning record?
Nope.
Okay.
They've had the best defensive player in the year. In fact, some people are saying Myles Garrett should be MVP, which is stupid in my opinion, just because of the one-loss record. But here's the thing. He actually, I mean, how can you look at Dylan Gabriel and say, I'm going to start him over Shedeur Sanders? I know that Shedeur is undisciplined and blah, 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 but Sanders has more talent than that 5'3".
How about I don't know who decision it was to give Walker all that money. Okay.
Watson?
I don't know. Or Watson, rather, all that money. You know, whether it was the owner, the GM, combination of the two. Mm-hmm. But the GM has his job.
Yep.
Okay, so they make the coach the fall guy. And just if that's, let's say that's true, and it's the coach, how can he be a front runner for one of these other jobs?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
I mean, that to me, that is the inside guys, the Adam Schefters, the Ian Rappaports and stuff, doing a favor for the agents.
I agree. Greg, I am copying down a question J2K has about some college football players, and I'm just going to save it. I'll send it to you because I know you'll want to look at some tape before you talk about these players. So I'll save it and then send it to you later. Somebody's saying here.
I'm getting crazy. I got guys, you know, the work. I got up at 4:30 this morning because I got guys, you know, they're trying to sign underclassmen, and then this NIL stuff. Which is all, you know, some of these guys want some answers on some players, and you know the thing. And so, like, I got a lot of work to do. It's not like I'm sitting around.
That's right, talking to me, wasting time when you could be doing some work. All right, Tom Brady, according to Best Meat Marinade, wants Brian Flores to be the head coach. Do you think that the Raiders should hire a defensive coach when
there was a Florio thing yesterday?
Yeah.
And it was Brian Daboll as the offensive coordinator and Flores as the head coach, which is strictly would be a Tom Brady thing because both of them worked at New England.
Oh.
So I don't put a lot of credit into that.
Okay. Interesting. That would be an interesting scenario. Do you think that the quarterback
why would a coach, the record of head coaches' longevity with the Raiders and even general managers' longevity with the Raiders is atrocious. Why would you want to go there? And the other places, why would you want to go to is Arizona. That owner is awful. Pathetic.
Absolutely.
You know, and what he did to a couple people and end up losing the lawsuit big time, cost him a lot of money. It just was terrible.
By the way, you retweeted that article from the insider over at CBS, forgetting his name, Jones. It was an excellent article. In that article, he mentioned that Ian Cunningham, this might be the year where he gets a GM job. Do you just from
right now? There's only 2 open.
Yeah, so that's going to be hard for him to nail one of those.
There's Atlanta and there's Miami. That's it right now. That doesn't mean there's not going to be another one later today or tomorrow, but that's what's open now.
The Atlanta job, I think, would be a good one for him, for Ian. I mean, the quarterback is still a question mark, but outside of that, they got a lot of talent.
Yeah, but the old quarterback could be taken over as president.
Who's that?
The Boston
Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan is going to be president, which means he's taken over for McKay as president. I don't know what happens to McKay within the organization, but McKay is chairman of the competition committee with John Mara, which is the most powerful committee in the NFL. And he has been chairman for a long time. So how that all fits in, I don't know.
Hey, many years ago when Greg Braggs was a part of the Barroom Network, he landed Doug Plank to be on one of our shows here. And Doug Plank, who played with the Bears before you were with the Bears.
Yeah, he was on the 86 team, right?
84, actually. He was right before the Super Bowl year, 85.
Okay.
He lamented that the Chicago Bears have never hired coaches from within the organization. In other words, players, former players, to be part of their coaching staff. They didn't bring in Singletary. They didn't bring in Plank or Fensick, blah, blah, blah. In your time with the Chicago Bears, was there ever a player that you said to yourself, he might be a really good coach?
Olin.
Yes. Yes.
Now, now Olin was coaching high school, and he's not even doing that right now because he wanted to see his kids play their final years of college football. Chris Valerial, who was here early, is coaching high school, pretty good high school coach. But some of these guys don't want to, you got to want to get into coaching. Coaching is not an easy profession.
Okay? 80 hours a week.
Yeah, I mean, put it this way. Kiss your family goodbye in July, and you'll see them again in January. Okay, so it's not – you got to really have a passion for the game and want to do that, or, you're going to fail. So and the players are making so much damn money now that there's guys that go into my end of the business, but you don't see a lot get into the coaching end.
Yeah.
And part of it is because of the hours.
Yeah.
And then it's, coaching is so nomadic. You're only as good as the head coach.
Yeah.
You can be the greatest coach in the world. If he gets fired, you're fired.
Yeah. Great points. And then Ben Johnson said recently when he was asked, how was your Christmas? And he responded, what Christmas?
Yeah.
A poor guy. That is so bad.
But that's the truth.
Yep. Brent Murphy sends a great big thanks for doing these shows. They're the best. 2 questions. If Ian gets hired during this offseason, what draft compensation picks will the Bears get? This year, next year. So like a 3rd rounder this year and next year? And a 3rd round next year, yeah. That would be awesome. And they're at the end of the round. Yeah. Hey, I'll take them. I don't care where they are. And what are the 2 biggest needs that you foresee right now at safety, defensive tackle, cornerback? Well, I'm going to say what I always say. I don't even want to think about the draft until after the first week of free agency, because the first week of free agency tells you what you're going to do in the draft. Absolutely. They could bring in who do you lose in free agency? Who do you pick up in free agency? That determines what happens in the draft. And so
You can't say, well, we're going to do this. And then they go out and sign a guy. And, so they work hand in hand, and you got to go through, process A before you go to process B.
There you go. All right. I think that's going to do it for us. Greg, any final thoughts you have before we sign off?
No, I got a good feeling this week.
I hope you're right, Greg.
Everybody, I know, I get it. Everybody, it's fucking Green Bay. I don't care who they are. The game's here. Big C had another thing that was a good thing. Like the record of in the recent years of road quarterbacks in the playoffs, like something like 2-20.
Yeah, I saw that in his column. Yes.
Okay, well, where's the game?
Yeah.
Right here.
Yep.
It's up. A part of it's up to the fans.
Yep. Do you think that the victory they had on Week 16 in Chicago against the Green Bay Packers, that overtime win, do you think that gives the team a lot of confidence, or do you say, well, we lost the last 2 weeks, so that game doesn't really matter?
No, I think put it this way: they should have won. They could have easily won the last 4 games against Green Bay. Reality is they're 2 plays away from being 4-0. Look at my crooked finger. 4-0.
What's that? Whoa.
Yeah.
Look at that thing. I was going to say something really crude, but I won't.
You can. I mean, no. I can't help it. I got arthritis.
I can't say it. J2K says Tremaine Edmonds is a big reason our run defense sucks. You agree with that?
I don't know. I think Edmonds had a hell of a season. He missed 4 weeks. He's probably not quite 100% yet, but he was one of the reasons the defense was playing so well before he got hurt.
Mm-hmm. I think that the troubling thing is Jaylon Johnson, Tremaine Edmonds, and there's more guys that have returned from injury but don't look as good as they did prior to the injury. And
I agree with that. And I see, TJ got beat again. And that's, if there's one complaint I have, it's how can you let TJ get singled in man coverage? Yep. TJ cannot run. He never could run. He's extremely instinctive. He's great against the run. He's good in zone coverage versus underneath stuff. Mm-hmm. But when you got him covering somebody 20 yards down the field, that's a mismatch.
Yeah. J2K says Edmonds gets stuck in quicksand at the snap and can't get off blocks. I agree with the can't get off blocks, but man, he was just playing really good ball prior to that injury. I mean, he was, making interceptions. He was always in the right spot, blah, blah, blah.
No, he was a difference maker early in the year.
Yeah.
Really was.
All right. Well, just another programming note real quick. We will be back here live tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central. It's John Buffone, all fired up after taking the last 2 weeks off. Danny Shimon, who is getting closer and closer to getting married. I shouldn't have said that, but I'm just busting his balls. He's coming back from a nice vacation with his significant other. And, of course, the lovely and talented Alyssa Barbieri. They're here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central, Buffone 55. I hope you join us all live. Greg, love you, brother. And
I got to tell you who that I'll tell you about that.
I ain't going nowhere.
Okay.
Take care, everybody.